Hey there, star friends. It's Francesca from Consciousful Tarot. Thank you so much for tuning into my YouTube channel and clicking on my video. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and click on the subscribe button. And if you're also new, I'm Francesca. I'm a spiritual advisor, and I'm also a clairsentient tarot reader and a level 2 Reiki master. Today, I'm going to be making a new series of video. I'm going to be making a video on the twin flame journey, specifically a reading for the Divine Masculine and the Divine Feminine. So let's go ahead and get it started. Don't forget to click on the like and subscribe button. Okay, so I'm gonna first be elaborating about what's going on in the twin flame journey. I was really called to make this video only because there's a lot of shifts happening in the cosmic level. So as you can see right now, the North Node is being activated to the point where all twins are getting the calling to go into their role, into their destined role of their North Node, they're now realizing the potential that this connection has, and they're in a point where they're now actually going through an ascension period. They're both recovering. They're both realizing that they should give this relationship a chance. They're realizing that they truly do value this connection. They're going through a lot of yearning right now. In the past, they could have felt, in the recent past, they were going through a lot of uncertainties about what was going to happen in the connection, really missing each other because there was still a lot of density and shadows that needed to be transmuted. But I do see that both twins were listening to their intuition. Both twins were holding on to hope. As of right now, they realize that there is nothing better than this connection. They could have felt as though they wanted to water other relationships or that there was something better, but they realized that the grass is not greener on the other side. It's greener where you water it. So now they're realizing that, especially since they both been going through some sort of solitude, and they do realize that it's worth to work on this partnership. They want to give it a chance. And I do see that they're at a point where they're actually going through a strong healing. They're both receiving harmony on a deep molecular and DNA level, to the point where they're transmuting any sort of energies that were in balance, any sort of karmic contracts with other people. I do see they're at a point where they're now regaining their harmony within themselves, and they're receiving the elixir of life through the surrender of the old, through the surrender of not repeating old cycles that no longer serve them. They're now activating and opening their heart chakra through the assistance of Archangel Michael. But it's both of the twins that are allowing this, as they're realizing that they need to suspend old realities in order to align themselves with their North Node, with their destiny. And they're realizing that they needed to tie loose ends in their lives in order to really heal this connection, or in order to proceed with moving towards this connection. They're realizing that there was a lot of things in their life that were out of balance, that they needed to reconstruct, that they needed to repair. I do see, particularly for Divine Masculine and Feminine, they needed to patch up either old relationships or heal the relationship with their family, with their parents. It seems as though the relationships that they had imbalance were also affecting their ascension process, hence affecting the union, affecting them from getting together. So they're now actually both looking at the bigger picture, and they're knowing that prosperity lies ahead. They're becoming very hopeful, and they're also being very constructive with themselves, as in like accepting constructive criticism, recognizing how they possibly push their integrity to the side in order to please other people. Or at one point, I'm picking up that Divine Feminine sacrificed her integrity in order to please Divine Masculine. And now she's realizing that now that she has separated herself or is in a place of solitude, she's now recuperating herself and is coming to a point of harmony, of coexistence within herself. And she knew she had to get to this point in order to even get to the point of union. They're going through a strong initiation that is ascending them to a higher level of consciousness. And now they're finally both freeing themselves from karmic cycles, whether it's with other individuals or with themselves. They're not going to be replaying old cycles of self-torment, of self-blame, of self-sabotage, let alone chasing. I do see that they're both at a space where they're very curious. They're very curious. They want to converse. There's a lot of telepathy going on, but I do feel there's a lot of also confusion because of the old karmic cycles that they've gone through, whether it was with other people or through their own psyche. I do see that there was so much confusion of whether or not they were going to get back together, to the point where they fed a lot of energy to that turmoil, to that thought, or to those other people that were possibly pulling them away from their destiny. And I am seeing that they are being liberated from the hold of that dark force that had them kind of clouded when it came to this connection. And now they're at a place of solitude, to the point where they're now giving themselves that room to heal, to get assistance from the archangel Michael. And they're also now making healthy choices for themselves. So I see both twins are now not only potentially cutting ties with people that were potentially harming them or taking them off their path, but now they're making healthy choices in lifestyle and food, and even like their thoughts. And now they're at a point where they're wanting to really take a lot of maturity. They're wanting to step up. They're wanting to take a lot of accountability for their mistakes, not only with their counterpart, but with their people in their lives. So I am seeing that both twins are now listening to their intuition, and they realize that this connection is eternal. This connection is a soul connection, and they are not allowing the doubts to linger anymore. They're not allowing external things or people reinforce doubt or fear. They're not allowing themselves to be deceived or manipulated. And now they're honoring this connection because they know what is right in their heart, and they're listening to their intuition. And now they're at a point where they're uplifting themselves with connections that do serve them. So I am seeing both Divine Masculine and Feminine are making new friendships that are helping them reconnect with themselves. And as they reconnect with themselves, it brings them closer to reconnecting with each other in the 3D. And this is where they're at. So now both twins are finally able to surrender the dark forces and surrender the karmic cycles and releasing themselves so they can step into their north node. This is something that really scared them, but now they have a lot of foresight, clarity, and a lot of intuitional knowing. Okay guys, so now I'm gonna go ahead and transition to how the Divine Masculine is thinking and feeling about the Divine Feminine and what's going on in his heart space. I also pull out some cards about what's going on in either his soulmate connection or his karmic connection, as it came out anyways. I didn't even ask, it just came out. So it's obviously something you guys need to hear. So first of all, I do see that the Divine Masculine is really holding on to this connection. He knows that it's true. He's really believing and trusting in what he already knows and his intuition. And again, the Give Your Relationship a Chance card came out. So he knows he needs to work on this connection. He sees the Divine Feminine as his one and only, as the person that completes him. He is a little bit scared because he feels the Divine Feminine has a tough wall up, as though he may feel a little bit intimidated, or as though she wants nothing to do with him. So he does feel as though he's a little bit triggered right now. He's going through a lot of resentment and a lot of triggers that are making him reflect on the past and making him gain a lot of insight and wisdom as to where he went wrong. I do see him sobering up out of some sort of induced sleep or even like a spell. So when it comes to like spell or magic, people often think it's voodoo, but it's really not. Like simple black magic can just be someone thinking bad about you. You know, that's why they call it the evil eye, because it's someone that thinks so much about you in a negative way that that energy radiates to you and it can affect you, right? Magic could also be like sex magic. That's what I see this either like unevolved soulmate or karmic partner doing to the Divine Masculine, but I'll get to that in a second. the point is that he's sobering up out of this false reality that he was living in. He was really telling himself a lot of stories, illusions, and narrative that were keeping him stuck, not only in the relationship and the connection with Divine Feminine, but in his own life. And now at last, he's allowing himself to see through the illusions, to break out of this illusional state that was induced by sex, but induced by lies, induced by his own torment and shame and blame, that now he's breaking through it by immersing himself in self-love and forgiveness and compassion, and immersing himself in the unconditional love that he knows that this connection is. And I am seeing that he wants to make the effort because he knows that it's worth sacrificing for. The action that he's going to want to take is to take action. He wants to make sacrifices. He wants to leave the torment behind, the anxiety behind. He feels like he's wasted a lot of time. He feels like he's failed you. He feels like he's made you think that he didn't love you or he didn't want you, when in fact you were everything that he was looking for. And I am seeing that he feels as though you guys can attain a lot of stability. There's a lot of permanent growth that can come out of this connection. He's actually now putting in the work to achieve growth and security and stability in his life, because he wasted a lot of time potentially giving it to other people, potentially this other partner. I see he probably even sacrificed a lot of his money and his vital life force to this person. And he's done wallowing in shame and pain. He's done feeling sorry for himself. It seems as though he self-sabotaged so much to the point where he kept repeating the same mistakes. And it's like he would repeat the mistakes and then he would go back to bed only to face the same agony, to feel the same misery. But now he wants to take ownership. He wants to take accountability. He's being inspired and to take initiative. So that's why he's holding his vision, because he wants to come in. He's very clear on this. I do see him either like being really nostalgic, thinking about the past memories that you guys have. For some Divine Masculine are looking at your photos, or they're looking at you on social media, and I'm seeing that they're either getting advice or they're listening to their intuition about how to come in. They feel like they can't fully risk it all. They feel like it's gonna be very risky, but they want to show their hands. They don't want to come off strategically. They don't want to come off aloof or vague or with a hidden motive. But the reason why they feel they need to come in like indirectly, it's because of the way you're coming off. You're coming off very independent. You're coming off very self-reliant. For some Divine Feminine, you're coming off very passive, a little bit aggressive, a little bit intimidating, and they feel like it's going to be a gamble to come forward, because their worst nightmare is you rejecting them. So they're at a place where they're still getting very triggered by the feelings of the negative scenarios in their mind. If they were to come forward, if you were to deny them, they're going through a lot of anxiety episodes, but they're also now retreating, going within themselves, spending more time alone. I do see them also investing more time in completing their goals. They're also more energetic to the point where they're not allowing old karmic cycles. So whether it was, I see a lot of Divine Masculines had a lot of addictions, had like some Divine Masculines had like mental illness to the point where they weren't aware, but now they're aware of it. They had probably sleep problems, but a lot of it was just escapism, and they use either this partner to escape or just bad habits to escape. But now they're realizing that they don't want to escape reality anymore. They don't want to escape the guilt that they feel, and they're wanting to face the power of this connection. So I do see them moving on. I do see them trying to either be single or already being single, and they're at a point where they're now having fun on their own, having fun with their alone time. They're really gaining their endurance to really come forward in their own life, but also with you. They're also getting protected by their higher self and being guided by their higher self to seek the inner wisdom that they've always known about this connection. And they're ready to let go of what no longer serves them and give you what you deserve. So when it comes to this connection that came out, whether they are with a karmic partner or an unevolved soulmate, or with a soulmate that seems a little bit unevolved, this individual, whether it's female or male, remember the Divine Masculine has no gender, but most Divine Masculine are male and most Divine Feminine are female. But you know, nowadays people use their pronouns and etc. Anywho, so this karmic partner, or this other soulmate that the Divine Masculine was dealing with, seems to be very forceful. She seems to have kept him stuck. And Divine Masculine wasn't quite aware of the amount of manipulation or potential dark magic that he was under. So remember, like I said, dark magic doesn't have to necessarily be, you know, using voodoo or blood or dead animals. It can literally just be either like sexual magic, so someone like seducing you and that's keeping you bonded to them. It could also be mind control, which is someone mentally manipulating you, trying to distort your perception about someone else so you can stay with them rather than go in another direction. This other person, she's aware. She is very aware about the situation, about what's going on. She could either like know about you or just have an intuitive feeling that Divine Masculine is wanting to move away from her and potentially go somewhere else. Divine Masculine is trying to keep this private though. He's not trying to let her know, only because Divine Masculine is a sage and he's very wise, and he may already identify the snake in the bush. So I am seeing that Divine Masculine, the way he feels about this connection is that he sees that he wasted a lot of time in it. He's already has illuminated himself with the truth. I do see that either Divine Masculine has had a dream that illuminated the truth about the situation, about it being a dead end, and about it being a connection that doesn't serve him emotionally. I do also see that he could have either gotten clarity from either a tarot reader or someone that works in the occult. But other than that, it's either his intuition, but he kind of already feels as though he needs to stop putting in the work. He feels as though when it comes to this other connection, he's put so much energy only for him to be discontent, so to still be in a connection that he doesn't really resonate with, to still be in a connection that he feels as though he's wasting his time in, and there's not going to be any sort of emotional growth because his heart isn't in it. So he's now kind of like facing the situation with courage and the ability to honor this truth that's actually liberating him from the bondage and the cycle of repeating it. He's really trying to keep to himself when it comes to this connection. So I do see him feeling like the relationship's completely over. He feels like this other person was also a little bit like had narcissistic tendencies. So I do see this person, like I said, she wasn't allowing the Divine Masculine to grow. So it definitely can be a karmic, because that's like the karmic's role, but you know, it depends on the situation. What I do see is that this other person is reacting very forceful. So she can be very pushy. She can be calling him out. She can be like protesting. She can be trying to like play mind games on him to the point where she tries to run off to trigger Divine Masculine's fear of abandonment wounds or people-pleasing wounds, so he can chase her, to keep him stuck in this cycle. I do see some of these people are also blackmailing the Divine Masculine, so she can be trying to get tabs on him to either blackmail him and try to like ruin his name, try to expose him in some sort of way. And I do see that Divine Masculine is now aware of this. She's trying to have the upper hand, and she's really trying to come out on the other side. She's potentially also trying to make other people go against him, only for a way to retaliate, because like I said, this other female or this other person does feel as though she may be in competition with the Divine Feminine, and she's trying to retaliate. So if you are the Divine Feminine and you're listening to this reading, I highly suggest for you to protect your energy, ground yourself, not because this person can affect you, because they don't compare and you are too connected to the light, but this person does seem as though she's very threatened by you. And if you're the Divine Feminine and this person knows where you live, or they know people that know you, just be careful, because she may either try to slander your name, or she may try to manipulate the situation. Other than that, I do see that the Divine Masculine is now seeing that there's no second chances in this connection. He already sees her true colors, or their true colors, and he knows that it's time to transform his life. This person is also trying to smother and love bomb him to the point where it's sickening, and he realizes that this person is not for him. It is a dead end connection. He knows the relationship is over, and he knows it's time to transform his life and come back to you. He's being faced with a harsh judgment, but he's going to be in solitude until he recuperates his heart space and develops the courage to come forward. I do see you guys potentially expecting some communication from your Divine Masculine, potentially in the mutable moon or in the full moon. Okay guys, so now I'm going to go ahead and move on to how the Divine Feminine is thinking and feeling about the Divine Masculine and what's going on with the Divine Feminine. So the Divine Feminine is also going through an ascension period where now she's going through a rebirth of self-identity and self-transformation. She's healing herself, and now she's ready to reclaim her power, reclaim her position, and her confidence in the world. I do see that she's wanting to show the world her real self by showing her authenticity. I see a lot of Divine Feminine also breaking themselves from any sort of addictions, any sort of toxicity in their own personal lives, but also in the role with Divine Masculine. She's now cutting the chase. She's cutting the anticipation, the anxiety. She's cutting off the need to want to be the savior of the connection as the Divine Feminine. You know, in the tarot, it is the Empress, so it is the mother of all. So she's cutting that role of sacrificing her own needs and integrity for the Divine Masculine, and is now reclaiming her personal willpower, her own self-respect. And as she does this, she's actually healing her inner child wounds, such as self-abandonment, fear of abandonment, and also people-pleasing tendencies. So she's going through a transformation in the mind. I see the Divine Feminine going through a lot of mental epiphanies that are helping her understand the role that she played in the past with Divine Masculine, and how she needed to actually go through all these struggles with Divine Masculine in order to actually help herself and work through certain cycles that she was stuck in. She needed to go through cycles of pain in order to go through a liberation and change that wasn't happening in her life. Now she sees that on her own, she's been able to grow and enter this new stage of clarity and truth, a clarity and truth that she needed to honor through the absence of Divine Masculine. And it just so happens that now she's in a space where she's being able to reconnect with her inner child, with herself. She's now also tapping into her subconscious mind and healing the wounds that were potentially hindering her growth. And she's also honoring and protecting her power. I do see a lot of Divine Feminines also not allowing any sort of idea of separation or illusion of separation affect her, because after all, the separation is often an illusion. The separation is an illusion. Even when it comes to all of us together, we are all connected in the quantum field. The number one law of the universe is the law of oneness, that everything is in this universe is connected. But specifically for twin flames, the Divine Masculine and the Divine Feminine are literally connected because they come from the same vessel. They come from the same core being. So they know that the idea of separation is actually an illusion. And as they learn this notion, they're actually able to go through revelation and able to accept the solitude that they're in. They're able to have the force that they need and the clarity that they need in order to make it through on the other side without sacrificing themselves. And now I see the Divine Feminine really healing on a mental level, on a spiritual level, and on a physical and emotional level. Divine Feminine could also be at a point where they're reconnecting with their old hobbies, reconnecting like with old childhood friends or with old soulmates that really helped them in the past with growth and change. I do also see that the Divine Feminine is also potentially asking help from other people in order to see what she should do with Divine Masculine, or how it should play out, what should she do. And what the Divine Feminine is realizing is that she's realizing that she doesn't need to question, she doesn't need to extend herself to get the clarity, because she knows that this connection is unfolding in perfect timing, and she doesn't need to force anything, or she doesn't need to go out of the way, as the connection is going to transpire and come into fruition in the perfect time. And now that she's respecting the divine order of this connection, she's actually able to recapture her innocence. She's able to be present rather than in the past or in the future. She's able to reconnect with her creativity, her authenticity. And for a lot of Divine Feminines, I see them reconnecting with their mission and their purpose in this life. So whether it's inspiring others, taking the lead in human evolution and human awakening, I do see now the Divine Feminine stepping into their mission, which is also gonna allow Divine Masculine to step into their mission. And I do see the Divine Feminine also healing past connections with family, with old ties that are really helping the Divine Feminine clear out any sort of baggage or resentment or any sort of loose ends. It's kind of like the same thing that Divine Masculine is doing, as they are mirrors to each other's souls. The Divine Feminine is also going through a massive rebirth when it comes to their identity. So as I mentioned in the beginning, they are now going through a rebirth, and this is allowing them to show their true colors to the world. They're not going to be ashamed of who they came here to be. They're not going to be ashamed of the message and the mission that they came here to complete. They're not going to honor it, and they're connecting with people that are going to help them gain the courage to speak up, to really voice their needs and voice their idea. And this is really giving them a lot of confidence and giving them a lot of courage to keep going and not ponder in when the union's gonna happen with Divine Masculine, yet surrendering to divine timing, which is actually accelerating the process of union. Because oftentimes Divine Feminine would get into a space of resistance with Divine Masculine, because she would be thinking so much about him. And when you desire something that's actually a low vibration, desire is low vibrational, and desire actually pushes what you want away from you, hence repelling it, hence stopping union. So now Divine Feminine is understanding the idea of detachment and realizing that she can't desire something she already is. She can't desire something she already has, which is herself. And that self is also Divine Masculine, because Divine Masculine and her are just a reflection of each other. They are their own souls, but just in separate bodies, right? So she's now understanding the occult, the hidden message of the divine twin flame journey, and this is helping her transform her mind, which is actually helping her liberate and grow and really renew herself and enter this new phase alone, even though she knows and is honoring and protecting the union in the near future. And I do see the full moon again, so I do see that for a lot of twin flames, you guys will, if you guys are already in communication, you guys will go into full-blown union by the full moon. And if you guys are in complete separation and no union, I do see communication happening around the full moon, which is June 14th, so around that time. So I did pick up that Divine Feminine is wanting to honor her solitude. I do see a lot of divine feminines kind of like being in this mode where they're like protecting their fertility. They're kind of celibate to the point where they may be either not wanting to have sex with other people, or kind of just like going through like some sort of detox. So I do see a lot of divine feminine making healthy choices, not only in diet but also in lifestyle. So divine feminine can be potentially holding space for divine masculine when it comes to the sex life. As she knows that there is delays, she's just trying to create balance in her life entirely, because she's manifesting a lot of positivity, a lot of abundance in her life. She's at a point where she's very grateful for her own bliss and her own happiness. And but I do see that there is a soulmate that she's lingering with, or is a soulmate that is wanting to reach out to her, or is wanting to be in her life. But divine feminine seems to be so much in her power, so independent, so comfortable with being alone in her throne, that this soulmate that I see can be a little bit overthinking. This soulmate can be fearing rejection or abandonment from the divine feminine. He feels a lot of emotions for divine feminine. He's at a point where he's possibly seeking validation, seeking some sort of clarity that divine feminine wants him. But he seems, or she seems to feel as though divine feminine doesn't need him. So this kind of has him in his head. This is reinforcing any of his insecurities. He can be very sensitive and emotional because he's not receiving the attention that she possibly once gave him in the past. But I do see that this is actually happening as well. Like divine feminine is actually holding space because divine feminine is listening to her intuition. Divine feminine kind of feels that divine masculine is literally on his way. So divine feminine is kind of like honoring her celibacy and her independence right now, because divine is literally like intuitively holding her back from wanting to explore with a soulmate or wanting to engage in any sort of intimacy with a soulmate. So this has the other person, the other soulmate, kind of tripping to the point where he's taking it personal, and you know, they're taking it out on themselves, really trying to see if there's something wrong with them. But in reality, it's actually a divine orchestrated plan for divine feminine to actually hone her celibacy and hone her independence and procreation and fertility for the divine masculine, as he is stepping up and as he is going back on the journey towards union. So yeah, guys, this was a wonderful reading. If